When was the last time you saw me on TV? See, that's not right. With the pandemic, bringing people into my home is kind of risky. But the stars in entertainment, moguls in media, icons in business, political brand names, and hot-stepping trendsetters are coming over. They're coming over for the tea with MisRed.
So today I actually get to sit down with someone who is a maverick in terms of advertising. He's also a maverick in terms of sportscasting. I say all these titles because this guy is so larger than life. I've gotten to work with him. He's a good friend of mine. But I wanted to sit down and just have some tea with him and understand the psyche behind Barry Manandi, right? We all know Barry and Mike, but now I think it's time for us to hear the Barry story. So really excited, need to get ready. He's going to be on set just now. So yeah, we're going to be having some tea. So as I said, he's a very good friend of mine, and I'm really grateful that we can actually sit down and have this conversation.
I think I'm more grateful. Thanks for having me.
No. I hope our friendship is not affected by anything that is said here, but it's just about getting to know you.
No, look, there are no limits to the questions you need to ask. I can't promise that our friendship will not be affected, though.
All right, I'm glad he's honest enough to say it, so I'm going to try and not ask anything that's out of turn.
No, it's fine.
But I think it's also important for us to just get to know who you are. A lot of the times we see, I mean, as a sportscaster, we see in the advertising world, I mean, you're on multiple boards, you do a lot of stuff. And I think I've had the honor of actually being on stage with you as a host MC as well. So you wear a lot of hats. But let's take it back to just Barry. At Barry's core, Barry's basic. In the beginning, there was Barry. Where did he start from, and how many are there in his family?
Well,
how did he grow up?
It sounds biblical, but
yeah.
but yeah, look, we have a fairly small family by Zimbabwean standards. I have 3 siblings, so 4 children in the family. Both mother and father are late. All grown up. They gave us as good an upbringing as they could. We learned a lot, and you learn a lot in different phases. So you learn a lot in terms of the schools that your parents are able to send you to, and we were able to go to slightly privileged schools, albeit that we were not a wealthy family. Our parents sacrificed a lot to get us into those schools, and I think that's set a good foundation and platform upon which we've built our lives. And then also you learn from life experiences where the family broke up, where my dad and mom got divorced. It was very tumultuous. It wasn't, there was a lot of acrimony. And it sort of then teaches you to try and balance between who you are and what is happening, rather than sort of pick sides. You've got to sort of remember that, no, I'm a child in this. I'm not part of this situation. I've just got to carry on as much as I can. So all of that sort of shapes and molds who you are in the end of life.
And you did something that I'm going to just go back. You did the media training thing, whereby you skip the question and answer in a very diplomatic way, but I'm asking, what school did Barry go to? And then we can talk about the other stuff with the fluff and the big words. Yeah.
You know, I was trying to give you an answer and fill time without actually giving you any responses. Yeah. No, I went to Alex Park, I think, as a primary school.
Okay.
Then proceeded to Prince Edward's School. And
you're a PE boy.
I am. And it's strange and interesting how in Zimbabwe we base a lot of what we do and our life generally educationally around our high schools.
Yeah,
and I
perception.
I think it's a function of the fact that our tertiary institutions aren't as strong as they should be. So you relate more with your high school than what varsity you went to, because we all go out of the country and all sorts. So yeah, Prince Edward boy, learned a lot there. That's where I think most of the, if I can say, mischief was created. So here we are.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question, Barry. Difficult one, right?
Pleasure,
The media training, I feel it. So speaking of media, at what point did you even think that you could be in media? Let's start there.
I never thought I'd be in media. I happened upon being in a broadcaster and I kid you not, sheer mistake.
Really?
I was doing PR at the time. I was a PR intern, and we were working for Old Mutual Properties. They had just rolled out Westgate Shopping Centre.
Yeah, it was a big thing back then.
It was massive project. One of the bigger projects at the time. Construction was a big thing at the time in the economy.
Yeah.
So we were rolling out the PR plan and the publicity for Westgate. We were tasked with then arranging for its launch. And part of its launch was to have a measure of almost a center radio station type thing, because the center had a PA system. It wasn't being used particularly for much. So on launch day, which was a Saturday, we wanted to have the feel of having a shopping mall radio station. So we invited big name, 𝘋𝘪𝘨𝘪𝘵𝘢𝘭 and he was supposed to then sort of keep it ticking along and all sorts. I think he double booked or was unavailable, whatever the case may be, wasn't able to arrive. And then I was asked, Barry,
you know how to talk, so you go.
You speak reasonably well, get onto the mic. I jumped onto the mic, and I remember my boss saying, after about an hour or so, you're doing a fantastic job, keep going.
Really?
And that's pretty much how it started. From there, I then got a call to audition for Joy TV. They were looking for continuity presenters, and successfully so. Started on Joy TV, did a bit of a sports show on Joy TV. No, I lie. I actually did a business show on Joy TV.
Yeah.
And then that carried on. The Joy TV shut down. Bit of a hiatus. Then Mike, my daughter, gave me a call.
Because I was about to ask.
You two. Mike gives me a call and says, Barry, listen, we would like you to come and audition for a sports show we're doing.
Were you friends at that time?
No, didn't know him. I hadn't met him. He was the director and producer of the show, because he was with Gary Thompson and Associates at the time. I went across, sat on set with Steve Vickers, and it worked well.
Yeah.
Ish. Steve Vickers wasn't able to then do the show because ZBC turned down the initial pilot because he was working for BBC. So they said, no, we can't have this. We'll get into big trouble. So we needed an alternative. We were 48 hours from launch. And then Gary walked into the studio and said, Mike, why don't you sit there? So Mike sat on set, and the chemistry was
amazing,
immediate. It was like we had been old friends.
Because I was about to say, I thought you grew up together.
And from there, we literally met on set. From there, the friendship just blossomed, and here we are today, several years after the fact. And still friends first. And then business partners second. So it's worked out pretty well.
So we figured out how you started media by mistake, and then how you actually got this really crazy, great friendship / business partnership with Barry, but with Mike. But I want to.
The names are interchangeable.
I know, right? Because
I go on the
Barry
street.
and Mike and Barry,
And I go on the street and people will literally ask me,
hey, Mike,
are you Mike or Barry? And I'm like,
wow.
Either or.
But how do you deal with that? Because now it's like, you've been like this. And do you ever separate at any point?
Of course we do. When we go home at night.
Besides that, because now it's like, is there a Mike without Barry in terms of media?
Look, right now it's a team effort, and I don't think that will separate anytime soon, because we have such a great way of working together.
Yeah,
we trust each other on set, off set. So it's not. I don't think it's something that's gonna break up. It's a team effort. Like Ant and Dec.
Yes.
You can't have Ant or Dec.
Yeah.
You got
it
Ant
just
and
doesn't.
Dec.
It's like a brand,
And Mike, it's a brand.
It's a brand. Okay. So we've spoken about how you got into media, but also a lot of people may not necessarily know your journey in advertising, because you're a co-founder of one of the biggest advertising companies in Zimbabwe.
I love the way you said.
You know, it is one of the biggest, and you know, it is what it is, because you guys have done some amazing campaigns that I've also seen. I'm like, wow. So how does Columbus fit into the, where does it start? Where does that journey start? Because you're talking about being a PR intern.
Yeah. So Columbus predates broadcasting.
Yeah.
We're currently in our 20th year. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Nice.
And so my best friend, whose name is 𝘂𝘓.
I really thought it was Mike. I thought your best friend was, but I'm just heartbroken. No, this whole situation.
You know what? Men can have more than one best friend.
No, you can only have one. You're cheating. You cannot do this. Jeez.
So he and I started the business 20 years ago. And that was as a function of us seeing an opportunity.
Yeah.
At the time, I think there were two black agencies. And then there were significant people in the industry who were black, but there was predominantly, it was largely a Caucasian industry.
Yeah.
So we saw an opportunity to try and assist. There was also the big banking boom at that time, where we had lots of entrepreneurs getting into banking. NMB had produced lots of, and NMB, I think, just to give them a shout out, is responsible for, I think, training a lot of our bankers. So many of them broke out of that and then started their own institutions. They needed marketing and advertising support, and it needed people who could understand the people. So we saw that opportunity and then started what was then just an advertising agency, albeit that we were trained PR practitioners, both of us. So we started that, you know, just like any other startup. You make a lot of mistakes, missteps, but you learn.
Yeah, as you go.
And then 20 years later, we're still here, still going, and, you know, doing some pretty cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, we could talk about, like, I'm thinking right now we could have like 10 episodes of just Barry, because there's a lot to you. So I'm just going to quickly try skim through everything. So in terms of advertising, I think you were or you still are the president of ZAPA, which is Zimbabwe Association of
Accredited Practitioners in Advertising.
In advertising. So are you still the president?
I am not. We went to AGM and they
Did you lose?
A new president. I didn't run.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't able to run. I ran for, because the Constitution says you can run for 2 consecutive terms, and then you have to step aside.
Yeah.
They made a slight constitutional amendment and made
for you
run.
as an African.
Yeah,
you're in Africa.
We're in
we
Africa.
Just
This is
Africa.
Africa. This is Africa. Who gives up their seat willingly?
Honestly.
So they gave me a fresh mandate for a 3rd term.
Yeah.
And after 6 years, I then said, guys, I think we need to go in a new direction. And now it's being headed by Azar Khan, who is a well-seasoned advertising practitioner himself, been to Australia and back. He's now
so it's in good hands.
It's in very good hands. Obviously, as a past president, we have a duty of care to sit on the board, so I still sit on the board, and from an advisory perspective, and assist in that regard.
Okay, so why I mentioned this is because there was a letter that came out last year, and I'm just going to read part of the letter, and it was very interesting because it was somewhat a viral letter, right? So it read, "It is with great dismay that we write to you about the above matter that we have been tracking for some time now. We have noted with concern that in recent times your business has been exclusively using sexualized content to promote your products. Whilst it is your prerogative to create the brand that you desire, the introduction of lewd, right? Lewd, and coarse innuendo has come to the association's attention, and members of the public have raised concerns around this. And this was with regards to Mampos, right? And there was a big back and forth online, and I was seeing them, and there were insinuations that you were sent by the government or a certain party to attack them. There were so many things that were going around at that time. And I'm wondering what was going through your head when you sent this letter as the president.
I was laughing hard. Okay, there was a moment where we had to deal with an internal matter. So we work with advertising practitioners quietly in the background because we serve the industry. We serve
But this
at
was
the
leaked.
pleasure-
This was a leaked
yes,
letter.
We serve at the pleasure of the industry. So the fact that the letter was leaked needed to be dealt with because it was leaked from a board circulation group. And that was a slight challenge for us. But we dealt with it internally to ensure that those sort of leaks don't happen. This was a letter between two entities, Zapa and Mambo's Chicken. It was never, there was never a desire to put it into the public domain, but it got there. And when it got there, we said what we said, and we stood by what we said.
That
And
you were
what
not
we were
sent
se-
by anyone.
we
You're
were
not sent by any political party, any government.
We were sent by someone. We were sent by the public.
Yes.
The public was complaining about the fact that this sort of content wasn't palatable to the broader generality of the public, and also this sort of content was making them uncomfortable and setting a bad standard for the advertising fraternity or family. Rather, fraternity, I think, is very sexist, isn't it? So the advertising family, because of its sexual innuendo. So we were sent by those people, and that's why we did the letter, and that's why we enforced it the way that we did. And we have, and still have, mechanisms upon which we can deal with issues of this nature. So the fact that it was leaked into the public domain is by the by. What we wanted to deal with, we dealt with. Stop what you're doing. And we are proud that, on the whole, they pulled back. We know that they're likely to probably try and bounce back pretty soon, but that's neither here nor there.
But the point is,
on
your
the whole,
message.
the message got across.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, the kind of, but I'm just going to quickly run through because I know you're a busy guy. There's one other thing. In 2018, you withdrew from Zifa elections, right? What had happened, very quickly? Because I remember seeing you, and you were livid on the day, and you were pacing around the studio at ZFM, and I'm like, what is going on with Barry? What has gotten him this irked? And you're never irked.
I try not to, I very rarely get angry. But number one, the reason why I ran was because I felt that I had a realistic contribution that I could make to Zimbabwean football. So on that platform, we decided we would run. And upon our campaign, we then realized most of the rot that exists within our footballing, or existed. Existed, because in truth, I haven't been close enough to it to know if it still exists or that.
Is this your PR version of trying to not ruffle feathers?
It is just a version of giving those that are in that world the right of refusal or the right of denial. So at the time when I was close to it and I was dealing with those members of the Zifa Council, I realized that there was some serious endemic, entrenched levels of corrupt activity taking place in football. That made me realize that the election in itself, it wasn't possible that it could run
free and fair,
smoothly, firstly, and then obviously from a free and fair perspective. It may have, because I don't know, I pulled out. I said, listen, this withdrawal comes from a perspective that I would like to protect myself rather than participate in something that may, at the end, just leave us all tainted. Because when mud flies, some of it sticks. When you wrestle with pigs, you get dirty. You get dirty, and they're enjoying it in there, in the muck.
But for you, that's not it.
So that was the reason for the withdrawal.
But would you run again?
I would say yes. Maybe not right now, but certainly maybe in the future when we have achieved some of the objectives we're chasing right now. Possibly.
Okay. So with Golden Eagles, I see it's fantastic. I think you're trying to set the standards of what you would have probably done with regards to the broader scheme of Zimbabwean football. So you guys have done excellently. Your branding is on point, but I guess being a leading advertising practitioner in Zimbabwe, you would definitely make it look nice. So you're the chairman of Golden Eagles.
Yeah, I am, and in in truth, it's not about necessarily the brand alone, because a brand, you can create a facade of something that's great. It's got to be in real terms good inside. So we've worked hard to ensure that from a footballing perspective, we're playing good, exciting, winning football.
Because now you're in Division 1.
We're in Division 1. We started in Division 2. Founded the entity in 2019.
Already?
And then went into Division 2, learned what we learned there, got promoted, got into Division 1. We trust and believe that we're going to get promoted into the Premier League, and we go on from there. Our goal and objective as Golden Eagles is to be the first Zimbabwean club to win the CAF Champions League. Remember where you heard it first. And we believe that with the right systems, with a sustainable approach to football, we can certainly walk that journey. So that's the journey that we are on. But again, we don't want to put up the face of being professional, having integrity, being a good football club. We want to create an entity that is living, breathing, that people can look at with pride. So what we did was we went and we spoke to one of the government schools, Ellis Robbins, partnered with them. We assist them with their infrastructure upgrade and maintenance. They then become the home for our club, and the club being more than just the team. The first team, great, but then we've got our academy. So the boys in our academy get scholarships at Ellis Robbins, which we then fund. They play for the school, they play for the club. So it's almost a win-win
situation.
And then they get their educational side sorted. We're also able to keep a keen eye on them, because we can speak to their teachers, see what their grades are doing. If you're not keeping your grades up above a C, you can't play. Get your grades above a C, and then you can play. So it's about building men who, even if they don't pursue a professional career or don't make it, because only like 2.5% make it to the professional level. That other 98, 97%, what's happening to them? We need to give them a good start in life. So it's about, building a human being. And we believe that better people make better eagles.
Wow. Better people make better eagles. So I think I can ask you a lot of things, Offset, because we could talk and talk and talk. Because you're a man with so many, different elements to you. But thank you for joining me. So I think we need to do some tea. But hopefully you can come back soon, and we can continue some of these really great conversations.
Anytime. You've got my number, so
I'm going to call you.
Run away.
I'm going to call you.
And I can't block you.
Did you ever think you could?
Never.
Oh God, let's
Not
have
a
some
chance.
tea. Let's have some tea.